Welcome to Section 4, Video 5, Create our Destructible Items. In this video, we're going to finish our Destructible Actor. Let's start by opening up our Destructible Actor's header file. In the Protected category, we are going to add in some code. Here we are declaring a virtual function, which will be our take damage function, which is the same function that we used within player character because it is inherited from actor, and this occurs automatically whenever we apply damage to an actor. Let's create our definition really quickly. We are also setting up our damage values for when this actor explodes and should damage any other actors, as well as our health values, which will help us know whether this actor should die and explode. Inside of the constructor, we are going to set our default values. Here we are declaring our default values for the damage radius and strength, or the damage amount, and health variables, as well as our max health and current health. Inside of begin play, we are just updating our current health to max health like we've done previously in the player character. Inside of our take damage function, we are doing the same thing that we did with our player character's take damage function, which is just a bunch of checks to see if we died, and if not, then subtract health. So inside of our onDeath implementation function, we are doing is first preparing an array of overlaps. The reason why we're saving an array is because we're going to overlap multiple objects for this actor when it explodes. When it explodes, it should damage any actors that are within the radius, so for each actor we overlap, we have to have an overlap struct for that actor. Afterwards, we save the mesh's component location within the world as our start position, and this is where the mesh will be located within the world. This can be done with the same effect as get actor location, but we're using a components location to show that there are multiple ways of doing one thing. Then we are saving a shape, which is a struct that we specified to be a sphere with a radius of our destruction radius variable. Then we trace for multiple overlaps that overlap the world dynamic channel, which in this case will be the player and this destructible actor. The reason for why we had this function within an if statement is because it returns a boolean for if this hit anything at all, then return true, otherwise return false. This will also return the boolean after it's finished tracing, so it won't stop at the first overlap, because at that point it would be a single overlap function and not a multi-overlap function. The fquat identity is a bit of vector math, which in simplistic terms is just a rotation with x, y, and z all set to 0. So if we hit anything, then we loop through every overlap that occurred, which we have inputted into the parameters of that function for multi-overlap by channel. And if we hit anything, then iterate through the array and apply damage the same way we did with our player character's code, except instead of point damage, we're just using a general damage event, since we aren't using a specific point of damage. And then finally, we are destroying this actor after it's applied all the damage and everything, and moving on. Let's save all, select build, and rebuild our project to compile it all. And while that's compiling, let's actually bring our gameplay elements barrel destruct BP into the level, which is in our blueprints folder. Since it has finished compiling, let's test it by hitting play and shooting the barrels. As you can see, it destroys the other barrel, which is what we wanted, and it destroys itself and damages us. In summary, we've set up our game mode, we've created our respawn system, created our pickups, and created our destructible items. In the next section, we'll be creating our menus.